Regular meeting of the City Council held in City Council Chamber on Thursday, October 26, 2017 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this message was posted on October 24, 2017 at 9:32 a.m. This meeting is being taped and is live on SATV. All councilors are present. President Milo presiding. Councilor Sargent, move to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous minutes. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Please rise and join us in saluting the flag, led by Councilor Lovely.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public testimony. We have 3 people signed up to speak. Polly Wilbert.
Polly Wilbert, 7 Cedar Street. Good evening. I'm here for 2 issues you have on your agenda tonight. One being the Brown Street roadway change. I'm particularly concerned about the process that Traffic and Parking Commission is undertaking. Until very recently, there were 6 months of minutes missing from the postings for that commission. As you all know, it's not easy to go to every single meeting of every board and commission in the city. Additionally, the Brown Street change was not on the agenda for the meeting at which it was considered, September 14th. When the minutes were finally posted, the verbiage of the minutes indicated that the change was temporary, which led you to imagine that the painting for the roadway, which has appeared, I believe, this week, would be somewhat less significant or dramatic than it is today. Candidly, I would love to see some of that paint used on crosswalks in my neighborhood instead of we have to use a microscope to see some of them. But I think my chief concern is that when you make a significant change like that in the middle of the Halloween season, when some of us are trying to get around the city and there are lots of tourists and you have no expectation that a change has occurred, it's very dangerous. And so I would ask that the council consider, when you discuss this tonight, concerns from people who are actually driving around the city and how temporary changes are made, how they're noticed, and how quickly they're put into effect, because I think that something as abruptly that has occurred, so considered on the 14th, obviously the minute's not posted right away, not agendized. It's I think, not giving sufficient notice to the people who are impacted about something, even though it's supposedly considered to be temporary, it's pretty significant, looks pretty permanent to me. The other issue that I come before you about is the health insurance access for city councilors. I realize that this is probably a sensitive issue since we're in the election cycle, but I think that the council, I understand that this has been in committee since the spring. It strikes me that there's an issue of equity here in terms of how the council's compensated, and that I think it's fair to have the council have access to health insurance, but when there's a significant value for a benefit like health insurance, I would say to you that value becomes a compensation to a councilor. And so when you have someone who doesn't take it and someone who does, there's an imbalance. Health insurance, as we all know, is very expensive. I would suggest to you that if you do consider it, that a counselor should be paying for the health insurance premium, not just the component of an employee, but the full value of the insurance. That way, there's no inequity. There's not a counselor who's receiving a significant component above the other counselors, and that I think that that takes the perception of inequity out of the consideration. and without precluding somebody who needs health insurance and doesn't have it. It also evens out if you're taking family insurance, which is even more expensive than individual insurance. And so I would just ask you, if you do consider this tonight, to consider the equity among counselors in terms of the value of compensation and value of benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Coleman.
Good evening. My name is Michael Coleman. I live at 12 Brown Street, and I would like to make a comment about one of the agenda items tonight, which is the roadway changes on Brown Street. Now, Brown Street may not be a lengthy street, but it's a busy one. It has the museum parking garage on one end and the visitor's center. From there, the other end is the Roger Conant statue and the Salem Witch Museum. So there was a lot of activity between those places, a lot of pedestrian activity. There's even activity with people going to and from the railroad station. In addition to that, there's an awful lot of vehicular traffic. And that is owing probably to, in great measure, to a change that took place, I believe, in 2003, when a section of Liberty Street was discontinued. And as a result, every vehicle that leaves the museum place garage ends up on Brown Street, and Brown Street isn't that long. So it isn't unusual for at 5 o'clock in the afternoon to have bumper and run traffic along Brown Street. Last summer, there was some road sidewalk reconstruction outside of the Witch Museum, at which time the traffic was rerouted so that only a single lane would travel between the Witch Museum and the statue, the rock on which, the boulder on which Roger Conant's statue was on. That didn't help the fact that the traffic is so busy to begin with. And oddly enough, for some strange reason, at lunchtime during the summer, there was just as much bumper-to-bumper traffic as there would be around 5. I don't know what caused it, but I could see it, so I know that's what happened. Eventually, the sidewalk work was done, and the traffic for a period of time went back to the way it was, so that there was 2 lanes in each direction. And after that, Brown Street was completely refurbished. The the street was completely redone, and they did a great job. Actually, it was the first time, if memory serves me right, since September 1995 on a Friday, it was done at night under lights. That's how I remember when it was done. So now the street looks great. The only thing that hadn't been done was to restore the crosswalks. There used to be a crosswalk that would run from the Witch Museum over to the Andrew Safford House, and one from the Andrew Safford House over to the Common. So the other evening, I think it was Monday, very, very early, an ambitious painting crew showed up sometime right before dawn. And when they were done, there's crosswalks, all right, but there's arrows, there's text, there's lines, and there's also some sort of design in front of and the back of the Roger Conant statue. And finally, there's an arrow that makes the roadway one way, heading towards the parking garage, one way between the museum and the boulder. And I don't know, first of all, I understand that, pedestrian safety is very necessary, but painting overkill isn't necessary. And I don't understand, or I don't believe that arrow that makes the street one way is a benefit to anybody. It doesn't help the people on Brown Street because the traffic continues to back up, which we're accustomed to, but there's no sense in making it any worse. That concludes my remarks. Thanks.
Thank you. Fuzzy.
Thank you. Fawaz Abu Sharak, Fuzzy, for Harrison Road. I'm here to talk about the Harrison Road recommendation. 2 weeks after it was supposed to come, but it didn't come because some mess-up happened in the language, in the votes, and whatever. Anyways, that's behind us. That's 2 more weeks of suffering for our neighbors that we can't do much about it. Every single neighbor from 238 up till 258 Loring Ave, and every single person on Harrison Road signed a petition. Councilor Double has the original. Every single house and apartment. To us, this is very important. It's becoming totally outrageous because of what the college did by not allowing their students to use their commuter parking to park overnight. Our street is full of cars on both sides. A fire truck will barely drive in. Matt from parking came, the lieutenant from, Bob came, me, Councilor Double, whole bunch of people, we saw it firsthand. It's not safe and it's not right. And we wrote an ordinance to make it safe and okay by changing the place to residence from 6 p.m. up until 8 a.m. in the morning on the north side, which is the resident side. And from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., no parking because that's Salem state traffic and there shouldn't be cars, it's dangerous. And it should be on the south side, which is the parking lot, the faculty parking lot side, to be no parking at all. That's how it was drafted. This is how the lieutenant saw is the best way and the safest way to do it. And I think that's the way it's coming to you tonight with the amendment. I saw the agenda, there is a recommendation and an amendment, and with both together, it should do what the residents want. I hope this does not become a political issue tied to something in a committee or anything like that. We are already suffering by this. I hope you act on it and you pass first vote on it tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilor Terrio?
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we take out of order page 15, the first item.
Councilor Terrio moves that we take out of order and go to page 15 for the first item, right? Petitions.
We request from BNS Event Management to hold a road race, the Black Cat, and use of city streets on March 10th, 2018.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for approval.
Under discussion?
On discussion, the only issue I have with road races in general is it's becoming, and it's no disrespect to any of the people who run road races, is the way that it seems that in order to get their mileage in without going down additional streets, they're looping double on a street. So it could be that a road race starts in front, and they run up in front of someone's house, and then all of a sudden, 45 minutes later, the whole pack is coming by again. I mean, I'm not adverse to road races, but I really want to have a conversation as we move forward with regards to road races. I mean, this one's unique because it's a 10-20. You do one loop, it's 10. 2 loops is 20. I get that. That's a unique situation. But for the other road races where you're trying to squeeze in road races to fit, to get your mileage in, and you're doubling up in front of somebody's house, I think if somebody sees everyone run by once, that they shouldn't have to see the same group run by again in the same day,
Right.
by the same road race. That's just my opinion. For this particular road race, they've done it a bunch of years. I know the good Ward 5 councilor took it out of order because the people that run the event are here. I'd be interested because I know they've had some issues in Marblehead. Not so much in Salem because the road races, if anyone looks on the map, it runs through Marblehead. So I don't know how that works. But in the future, when any of the other road races, it's going to be, when I look at a road race that someone doubles up on a loop to go around someone's house twice, then they need to figure out how to loop someplace else in order to not go in front of someone's house twice. That's just my opinion. But with this one, they've done this road race before. It hasn't been an issue. I don't have a problem with it. If they do, they loop twice because you're talking the elite runners want to run 20 miles. So you're not talking, after a certain point, the stragglers, so be it. They're going to be walking on the sidewalk. They want to do the 20. I give them all the respect in the world for doing it. But this one, I don't have a problem. But if the Ward 5 councilor has anything to say, I'll defer to him.
Any further discussion? Councilor Famico.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just wondering what the time of the race is. It's not on the sheet here.
Do we know what time the race is? What was it?
Starts at 8 a.m.
8 a.m.? Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Council McCarthy's motion that this be approved, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries.
We return to our regular order.
Okay, and I would ask that someone make a motion to go to, I'm not sure what page it is, where the mayor wanted to address us about safety during, what page is it?
Six.
Okay. Council Famico.
Madam President, could I move to page 6?
Okay, thank you. On Councilor Famico moves, we move to page 6, Mayor's informational page.
The mayor requesting to address the city council with the police chief to give an update on public safety planning for Halloween.
Councilor Famico.
Thank you, Madam President. I move this we take and receive and place on file. Move that we receive and place on file, and that we allow her to speak.
Councilor Famico moves that this be received and placed on file. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Famico.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we suspend the rules to allow the mayor and the police chief, if she also chooses, to address the council.
Seeing no objection? Chief, Mayor?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We thought we'd be brief. I know you have a lengthy agenda, but we wanted to give just a brief overview of the approach for Halloween public safety planning. We gave this overview to the Salem Partnership at a meeting they had, and we thought it was enough information that it would also be something that the council should be aware of as well. We've done this in the past. I would say probably haven't been back in the last couple of years as a matter of course, but given the number of things that are going on around the planet, and I think the at times nervousness and anxiety that having large gatherings within a city can certainly place on a community. We want to just sort of talk through what the approach is this year and share with you some of the work that goes into not only coordinating the effort, but also answer any questions you might have about it. I mean, I will say that 11 years ago, there was not a lot of love for trying to manage what happens here on Halloween and on haunted happenings throughout the month. We've really worked hard with public safety officials, Chief Butler now, Chief Tucker before her, Chief St. Pierre before that, to think more broadly about, if you have this many people here, they're definitely coming. We know Halloween is a very fast consumer holiday that's growing more and more each year. How do we plan for the people that are coming here to give them something constructive to do? That began with the fireworks ceremony, having a closing ceremony, spreading out crowds, having bands and vendors and operations like carnivals for different age groups to participate in. As we think about this year, you know, we're certainly struck by events that are happening around the globe, and you'll now see barriers set up to prevent vehicles from crashing into large crowds. We work extensively with both other state agencies, but also other federal agencies to think about how we can monitor circumstances in our community beforehand and outside of our community. We'll also be bringing in better coordination with the MBTA, or I should say continued coordination with the MBTA. After every Halloween season, we spend a lot of time thinking about after-action assessments. We do a resident survey, we do a business survey, and we do our own internal sort of after action. And I'd even say we're doing a little bit of that on the fly throughout the month of October, trying to get better at what we're doing. Two new things you may have noticed for this particular season are event staff. So this is the first time we've actually brought on board formal event staff to help us with some crowd control activities, to help with crossings at some of the intersections that it's just difficult to have a police officer in every single area. And we have crossing guards and individuals that we brought on to help crowd control in the cemetery, for instance. This weekend in particular, with the police chief's assistance, given the large crowds, we're actually curbing, putting a cap on the number of folks who can be in the cemetery at any one time. I'm talking about the old burying point during the day. We've just seen some activity throughout the month that has caused us to be a little bit concerned about such a large crowd gathering there. But the event staff, the crowd control in the cemetery, and the other thing that we've done this year that's new is the shuttle system. So many of you may recall, I want to say 20 plus years ago, there was a shuttle that ran from the North Shore Shopping Center into Salem. And it was sort of a mixed bag. We had so much traffic coming in. That was really before we even, partnered with the T to really encourage people to take the train. I should point out the MBTA will be running their $10 train special on Halloween, so it's a $10 round trip as another way to keep people off the roads and hopefully not tie up the entrance corridors into our community. But we had a shuttle, or somebody ran a shuttle, it wasn't city run, 20 odd years ago, and it was a mixed bag of success. I think the shuttle bus ended up staying and getting stuck in traffic all the way down 114. This year, we said we should focus on those folks who are already content on driving their car and haven't changed their mind. How do we keep them out of the downtown congestion circle? You know, people looking for parking, can't find it, then don't know what to do. The garage gets filled, and they end up in this spiral that's just contributing to traffic congestion. They're frustrated, we're frustrated, it's not working well. And we just went to the outskirts of our own community. Last weekend, we ran it from Salem High and at North Shore Medical Center, just one, or well, it was 2 buses, but one route. The first day, we had 1,300 passengers take it. The second day, we had over 600. Taking 2,000 passengers in via shuttle, that's almost equivalent to having another parking garage, people parking outside of Salem. There were some residents who took advantage of it, so some people walked down and said, I'm just going to go in, and this is an easy way to get here, it's a little bit far of a walk. It worked pretty smoothly. The longest shuttle ride was like 22 minutes at one point, with stops and traffic. The longest wait while waiting for a shuttle to circle was 15 minutes. So it was great weather. That, you know, you're less likely to complain about waiting when the weather is good. So we felt like that was pretty successful. This weekend we'll have the shuttle up again. The shuttle is being run by school bus drivers that we've hired to put on. They're being funded by Destination Salem as part of the proceeds that we're bringing in. We think it's a worthwhile effort to try and keep cars off the road and come down on congestion. This weekend we'll have 2 routes set up. So we'll have both the Salem High and the North Shore Medical Center route on Jefferson Avenue and Salem State University, the O'Keefe Center parking lot. So we're hopeful that, again, the more cars we can keep out of the congestion downtown. The garage is still filled up. We had a coordination meeting this week. It wasn't as though we shot our own selves in the foot. Our garage is filled up. We got our parking revenues, but we are trying to be mindful of keeping cars off the road. It did feel like there was a little bit less congestion on some of the major corridors, but we didn't actually have traffic counts out for any of that. As we're gearing up for this weekend, we've got certainly plenty of staff on, and it's a whole separate operation for Halloween. We do divide the month between October 1st and October 30th. We're reviewing schedules to, discuss deployment, and then October 31st is a whole separate operation for Halloween, which will be very much similar to what we've done in the past. We're not running the shuttle on Halloween. We toyed with the idea, but given that we have school in session, it's a little tricky to use those sites at the times that we thought. But we are pleased with what we've seen over the weekend in terms of its use. And overall, the crowds have been really big. I mean, the weather has contributed to a fabulous month, but also really well behaved. We've had, for the most part, not a lot of big issues. We've had some trouble with animals, like this is something for our after action part, people bringing their dogs here. It's so busy and so crowded, probably not a good idea. Certainly not a good idea to leave them in the car, but definitely not something even walking around. It's a little tough with this many people in town. And we've got our list for the after action, and we welcome your input on that as well if there are things that you're seeing to help us get better at managing what we see here. I definitely want to turn it over to the chief so she can spend some time just going through, perhaps in a little bit more detail. I know we've got some information to hand out what the approach will be this year, which again will be similar to last year, but building on both practices and information to try and improve our efforts going forward.
I know the mayor said we were going to be brief, but I actually developed this whole thing, so I thought we'd go through each of these talking points. I'm joking. So, the mayor's right. I mean, I think that this is it's an ongoing thing. This, when this first started, Bob Callahan, I think, was still a captain with us, and he actually sort of developed the first plan. So it's been ongoing. So it's kind of like dealing with a child growing up, and you change your tactics as things change. And so we're doing the same thing. The event is changing, and so we've been changing how we're actually handling it and what we're doing. And so obviously the after action and the input and almost as the mayor said, the regular input that we're going through the entire month is actually helpful to, how we continue to develop and build the plans. I have a small little folder here. This is minuscule in comparison to what it really takes to actually accomplish getting all of this done for the month and for the particular day. But I want to assure people that we are very cognizant of the national and global issues that have been going on, and we'll be addressing those things in the way that we're managing our safety plans around the people that we have, the staffing, and some of the objectives that we do for providing a safe environment within the area where most people actually are, the pedestrian mall, Washington Street, Derby Street, and over on Hawthorne Boulevard and the Common. So we're very, very conscientious of that and know that that's going on. And so we've tweaked more plans from last year to actually address some of those particular type of issues. I will say that we work very closely and are in constant communication with people from the FBI and JTTF that really give us some intelligence around whether there are any known threats and that type of thing. So we maintain that connection, and they have technology that really gives them the heart and feel of what's going on through all kinds of different mediums, and they provide that intel to us. Right now, there is nothing, and we're going to continue to, believe and hope that is going to continue to be nothing, and we're going to continue going on that, but for providing for, a worst-case scenario, but obviously hoping for the best-case scenario. So far, as the mayor said, crowds have been great. I always kind of continue to knock on wood relative to that. The crowds have been huge these past several weekends, much bigger than they've been in the past. So it's really a growing event, and we tweak the plan based on that growing event. We also have a multitude of individuals that come in. We have NEMLEC that comes in and assists us with the motorcycles, with RT, with SWAT. We have the Essex County Sheriff's Department. They provide us with transportation needs for anybody that we end up having to take in custody. They provide us the assistance on the traffic post, obviously trying to manage that. Several of our area local departments assist as well, because we couldn't do this on our own. So there are probably somewhere in the proximity of about 250 offices that are here. Most of them are actually uniformed, some are actually plain clothes, and they'll go through the process. We'll do the same thing relative to coming off of the trains and trying to, again, take weapons. And maybe some of you have seen it posted on Facebook for the PD. We really do encourage not to bring any, regardless of what they are, just because we don't know. I've literally had to go up to somebody to actually feel a knife, because you really can't tell. We don't want to be in that position. People are costumed, and it's best to just leave them home. So we
Real
do
or fake. Real or fake.
So
Leave them at home.
we do that. That's just a general rule of thumb, because it does provide for the safety of everybody, and you don't want anybody on edge. The other thing that we've recently done is dealt with the issue of drones. So we've had a few incidents that have gone on, and so I had a gentleman by the name of Mike McGee, pilot of 36 years, engineer, and also a drone pilot for the last 5 years commercially, and he provided us a lot of background in terms of what we can and can't do. What are those restrictions? What does that look like? How do you actually safely get something, get an aircraft down? And then what do you do? What are the responsibilities that we have relative to that? And so he's given us a whole litany of different things to be able to manage that, because we are experiencing that. I suspect as time goes on, we'll experience more of that. We have some connections with the airports and connections with the FAA right now to make sure that we're aware of what's transpiring and what's going on. Some of the other things that we're doing that might be not really totally different, but I think that is important to know. We do have staff on for EODs that are set aside. We have our canines. We have other canines from other area departments around us that come in and provide that assistance as well. And then one of the most key things, I think, is the push that we have with all the business community, with the general public, and also with all the particular hotels and motels and inns that indicate they're a destination Salem, which is really emphasizing that the see something, say something. And that's really important, albeit there may be 250 people, offices that are on the street, thinking and knowing the numbers, those extra eyes, it's really important to make sure that they're letting us know if there's something that seems amiss so that we can address it. And that, in a nutshell, is it, but obviously you can read this. There's a lot more that goes on with that.
And just two quick things I want to make sure we call out for next year. We're definitely going to be focusing on, and we hope to get a handle on it. We've had, and for this weekend, non-resident parking issues. We've had Airbnb has had, as many folks in this know, a 60% increase in October in Salem. It's resulting in about $100,000 in host fees. So we've seen a lot of our resident parking zones. We've seen out of Massachusetts, out of state cars. Sorry, it's been a long day. Parked there. That's something that we've got to get a better handle on in terms of registering. This weekend, we do have set up parking at salem.com, so if you're seeing areas that are supposed to be non-resident or resident-only parking and non-residents are parked there, we have extra parking personnel on. We're deploying them on larger routes, but if there's a particular area we're not getting to, not an emergency issue, but something will be monitored, we can send somebody out. So that's also one new thing that I want to make sure people know about this weekend this will be the biggest weekend, we think, for crowds coming into the community. And with that,
I'm sorry, just one last thing. So the second sheet that I gave you actually is the street closure for Halloween and what that proposal will look like. But the one piece that I don't have right now, IT is actually working on that for us, is the potential plan for this weekend. And again, we say potential only because it's gonna be guided by the number of people that we have here and whether it's a safe situation for them, allowing the traffic to flow or not. And that pretty much predominantly will be Washington Street this way, and obviously a few of the streets that would empty onto Washington Street. But that, in essence, is probably where we're focusing on that kind of stuff. So.
Councilor Zeppeli, Terrio, Famiko, and Fury.
Thank you, Madam President. To the chief, first of all, thank you to you and the entire department for each year more is put upon your department, whether it's the number of people or the number of concerns, whether they be local, state, or federal or international. So that's point one. Point two, I had a senior constituent give me a call a day or two ago, and she had some concerns, many of which you've addressed with some of the remarks you've already made tonight. But the one thing that she addressed that I just wanted to ask you, to the extent that you can provide any response to, she was concerned about people in costumes who have like a loose gown or cloak or whatever their costume or robe or whatever the costume might be, that bad things could be hidden underneath that. And I'm just wondering what reassurance can we give that person?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that, costumes is part of this, and that is a different dynamic than a lot of special events, large events that other municipalities, cities actually have. So it does create a little bit of a dynamic that is different and sometimes a little problematic. But I think that there are some things that we're not always going to know. But I will say that I put all of my plainclothes individuals through a training a week ago on behavioral overview and looking at cues. And so that, it's not just the costume, it's other things, other behaviors that are going on that are going to be sort of the tipping point. And so having them all trained in that and actually paying attention to that is sort of a crucial point and critical point of the planning. So.
I personally have every faith in the department and in your law enforcement partners that you're going to do everything you possibly can to keep everyone safe. So from my standpoint, we can't do more in that respect, but I appreciate you providing that reassurance to the public.
Absolutely.
Councilor Terrio?
Thank you, Madam President. I'll echo that the job that the police department and our security services have done has been exemplary for many, many years. And like I said, each year this does get bigger. Each year our response gets more detailed. The security has been provided with generally a very light touch, which is something I think all the visitors really appreciate. I think the residents appreciate that too. We deal with problems efficiently, but our police are and the people who come in are generally very well trained as to how to deal with this sort of crowd. They're here to be, generally to have fun, and if they do something stupid, then they run afoul, but we still handle things in a good fashion. I think that's been positive. The one thing that I wanted to bring up, I guess this is, it's late for this now, but it's more for planning purposes, is we have noticed that the parking, the resident neighborhood parking has kind of spilled over now with some of the visitor stuff into South Salem to an extent that it generally hasn't done. And I think that's probably tied to the increased crowds overall. So I for next year, I would appreciate if we'd consider perhaps looking at, at temporary resident on the through streets, like the through streets like Cabot and, Cedar and Fairfield and such coming back towards South Salem,
for maybe a half mile or so to sort of look to see what we can do about that.
I think we have that on our after-action report, because it's not just South Salem, it's sort of like the creep out. Wherever you put the resident sticker parking, the next street is the one that's impacted. I mean, the Traffic and Parking Commission is hoping to look at regular resident sticker parking issues that we deal with just on a Saturday night in July. And then, our approach here, if this shuttle system, if it's working as successfully, that could really be a key to, one, pushing it, advocating it, communicating it, and also, allowing for greater restrictions on resident side streets to prevent people from displacing resident parking that is already in short supply in many neighborhoods.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. I think that, ultimately what we probably have to do going forward, and again, we're doing this, the Derby Street neighborhood and the Salem Common neighborhood and in the Endicott Street neighborhood now, and probably next year in South Salem, if we eventually move that traffic to the point where it's far enough out that it's very inconvenient for somebody to park just in a residential neighborhood and walk in from there, then maybe we can get even better use of the shuttle system and such. I think that'll help a lot.
Councilor Fumiko?
Thank you, Madam President. Chief and Mayor, I'm happy to see some of the improvements this year that have been made, specifically having some more officers downtown, and I really enjoy the crossing guards. This past weekend, actually, heading over towards the Common, the entire side closer to the Witch Museum, that whole side of the street was completely blocked off to help with everything, and there was a guard going from one side to the other that was quite helpful. I know, and also I'd just like to mention, this year, when you do your post wrap-up, I would really appreciate being part of that. Sure. This time around. I know I've written to a couple things, and I'd just like to bring those up right now as well. Just the first thing is Halloween itself, even when it's Halloween, usually when it's midweek, it's pretty dead in Salem compared to the weekends leading up. And just to take that into consideration, the boulders that were put for Artist Row, it's nice, but I written to you guys last weekend too, and I know, Chief, you said we could put some vehicles in. Our downtown core, so on Essex Street right here, at Rockefeller's on the other end, and at Central Street, that's where we have the most people. And last weekend, within 15 minutes, we had 4 vehicles going down there, and just not that safe for people. And then just to tie into that, just a reminder that by your ordinance, there's no A-frames on Halloween itself, so if we could remind businesses, because what's happening now, we keep getting more and more stuff outside downtown, and with that more and more stuff, what ends up happening is we have tents now that could probably house, I don't know, half of Salem. And in addition to that, with all the signs and everything, there's really no place for people to go. Signs are getting placed in the middle of pedestrian flow, and yes, it's still ADA, but when you keep having more and more and more, you have more people plus less places to go, and I'd like to see something added with that. And then just also going forward, can we have a solution for downtown residents? What's happening now is for garages, they fill up. And now with all the temporary Halloween parking, all the streets that people can typically park in, they're gone. And if we keep expanding where you can go further and further and further, the closest you can park as a downtown resident will probably be maybe Marblehead. And it's just something to look into. And also if the MBTA would be ever so nice to give discounts for the weekend sliding. That'd be great. But just in general, it has been nice to see the extra enhancements being made and that you're open to new ideas and open to these discussions and having one have the ability to go back and forth with that. And that you're out on the streets yourselves the weekends before and on Halloween. That's very helpful to see. And not in costume.
Really? I was hoping.
It's a working holiday for us.
But we are in the final weekend now, actually. I'm considering the Saturday before to be Halloween itself.
Yeah.
And
It's almost worse when it's on a weekday because we have to deploy almost 2 Halloween-style efforts, public safety efforts. We'd rather have it all done on the weekend if we could, but it's okay.
just wanted to raise those things now because I know I've also heard them from my residents. Just wanted it on the record.
Yeah, great.
But looking forward to this weekend and the days after as well. Thank you.
Councilor Fury?
Yes, please, Madam President. It's amazing how far we've come. Back in the 1970s, I'm going to show my age as the dean of the city council. There was a joke around in Salem. You can have it roll. You could roll a bowling ball down the mall in the 1970s. even during Halloween, and not hit anyone. It was that slow. There was, storefronts were empty. It wasn't a fun place to be. It's such a great place to come to. And they come from all around. You start from almost a day after Halloween, planning for the following year. So it's an amazing amount of planning. And I'm so excited to be a part of Salem. And I've told the stories here in this chamber. I've had visitors from China stay at my house, and I've been to China. When I went to China for a whole month, I went to Beijing, the capital, and then went to a McDonald's, Beijing, 3-story McDonald's. And the waiter that comes over to me spoke fluent English. They learned English in the 3rd grade. And he came over to me and looked at my travel tag, and he says, "Where are you from, Mr. Field?" And I said, "Salem, Massachusetts." He said, "Which city?" Peabody Essex Museum. And I work at the Peabody Essex Museum, and normally this is a very quiet month for the Peabody Essex Museum. But they've gotten involved with the Mark Hammett It's Alive exhibit. And they've had a real uptick in people coming into the Peabody Essex Museum. Clientele that would never come in to the Peabody Essex Museum come because of haunted happenings. They come. A safe place to celebrate Halloween. I taught in Lynn for many, many years, 20 years. And many students in Lynn and families come to Salem. It's a safer place to celebrate Halloween as a family. To walk around the neighborhoods, to come downtown Salem. They come from all around. So it's an exciting place to be. It's a major inconvenience for many, many of us. But it's a wonderful opportunity for us to celebrate Halloween in a nice, fun way. And Salem's come a long way. It's come a long way to go. It's really exciting. I appreciate it. Polly Wilbur brought up a concern at the beginning of the meeting about Brown Street and in front of the Witch Museum. Do you think we should hold off until after the holidays and any action on the traffic situation on that? Or do you think we should go ahead with that? I mean, put you on the spot.
Well, ultimately, I guess, at this point, it probably doesn't really truly matter in terms of actual Halloween itself, because that ultimately will end up being blocked as part of the actual plan on the map that you have as one of the closures. So I think that that's going to be entirely up to you. I mean, we'll address and deal with things as they come. We roll all the time, and so if I don't need to weigh in relative to what's going to affect it. I think that we'll be able to address it no matter what.
I come out of the Peabody Museum where I work, park in the garage. I go down Brown Street, past the Roger Conan statue. It's so nice to have in the crossing guards there. It's so wonderful. Each year it gets better and better, safer and safer in Salem. Thank you very much.
Counselor Giroux.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm glad to hear that you're going to have extra parking personnel, and while I know that the downtown is a priority, we've been having a problem in Ward 6 on Franklin Street that people are continuing to park on as it turns to Moulton, and that's creating a dangerous, narrow pinch point. Yeah. Exactly. So if there could be some focus there over the weekend, that would be greatly appreciated. Yep. And then the other thing, I'm just out of curiosity, what's the average number of arrests that you've had on Halloween in the last few years?
They've been really low from what they were in years past. I would say that I think last year, I mean, there was probably a good number of protective custodies that we had. People are here having a good time. But I think that the arrests probably were really probably under 10.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
For the amount
So I'll also add that when in the past, we do keep track of this, where we've actually had arrests sometimes is outside of the downtown. So we have tens of thousands of people here, having a good time, taking the trains in, taking them out, fireworks go off, and then we have a college party in South Salem and we end up, arresting somebody there, or, something happens disconnected with all the, the costume characters downtown. So that's not infrequent. And just, another example of hats off to Salem Police. We've got all this happening downtown. We've still got trick-or-treating going on in neighborhoods. We've got other parties and circumstances happening that, we're also running sort of 2 operations there as well. And I don't want to leave out the Salem Fire Department, who also puts in extra hours. And yeoman work by our public works staff, who, November 1st is definitely the cleanest day of the year in Salem due to the efforts that they put in right after Halloween, really making sure that we're picking up. When you come into town on November 1st, it doesn't look like there were tens of thousands of people here just a few hours earlier. And so everyone's really trying to make it a good experience for residents, a good experience for visitors, and something that we're happy when it comes and we're happy when it goes sort of experience, for sure.
Thank you, and I also just want to echo my colleagues' comments that I always think you guys do a fantastic job as well as with fire and public works and everything, and that I have just always felt very safe here. I do miss the mounted police though, because they were really cool.
Boston,
But,
they disbanded their
I know,
force,
I know,
their mounted
and-
unit, so.
But yeah, you guys do a
If you guys want to
fantastic
wear
job.
that bag, I guess we'll be all set. But I just want to say that, you know what, we might be the most visible presence out there during Halloween and during, you know, the October months, but there's clearly a ton of people that really participate in bringing this all together. There are a number of things. I mean, from whether it be the porta-johns or the vendors that are there, or the particular barricades that are being put up. I mean, there is a number of people that actually participate in getting this event and you know, going well. And then after action wise, I mean, you know, all of you and your constituents, I mean, these are the things that we need to hear when we're talking about what our after action plan is. So they're contributing as well.
Yeah, if you could push the survey to your, you know, especially stakeholders, we'll make sure it's an online survey. We've done it every year. It's super helpful to us in our planning, for sure.
Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. Mayor and Chief, thank you for the update tonight. This is good. More and more people, especially Ward 7, I think, are watching this on SATV, watching the council meetings on SATV. So hopefully they're getting the information. I'm celebrating my birthday this weekend, and my wife asked me, what do you want to do this year? And I said, the same thing I've done for the last 3 decades. I want to go downtown. And you've seen me downtown every year for
People
decades.
watch, right?
But I talked to a lot of your officers, and they do a great job. A lot of them are my friends, and I love seeing them in action. And thankfully, for years, I haven't had to see them in action, except for to direct people. Not a lot, the mayor, you nailed it. There's not a lot goes on downtown, except a lot of fun, a lot of people. And sometimes we're on the perimeter, occasionally some bad things happen, but it's really very few. So great job on your whole department. My question is, with people watching at home, and then for us here, us councilors tonight, to share the information, you mentioned the shuttle. Is that designed for tourists or Salem residents or both? And then can you cite what the hours are and what days they are and where the 2 shuttles leave from again?
Yep. It's 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and they are at Salem High School, North Shore Medical Center on Jefferson Avenue, and the Salem State Center O'Keefe lot on Canal Street. They're available for anybody to use. We've had residents using them. We had folks who were at the chair competition, which also was at Salem High School, take the shuttle to go downtown afterwards. It's a Salem school bus. We've got several buses running, and they will bring you right to the edge of Riley Plaza and then loop back around. So it's just a continuous shuttle. Everybody who gets on is told when the last shuttle is at 8 o'clock. And many folks said, you know, they know if they'll take Uber, you could actually walk to Jefferson Avenue if you had to, if you missed the 8 o'clock shuttle. And it is on salem.com under our news and announcements. You can get the full details and a copy of the route map there.
And for one's bearing, the 108 Jefferson Ave is right next to Bouchard's.
Right.
So if that just for folks here and at home, that's
big
the
lot,
lot that we're
right.
talking about.
So is that Saturday and Tuesday, or Saturday, Sunday?
Saturday and Sunday, not Tuesday.
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
Anyone else? Thank you.
All right. Happy Halloween, everyone. All right.
Good luck.
Stick around.
Mayor, you're next.
Councilor Ruffey?
Next item. If we could go just to the next item on page 6.
Sure. Councilor Ruffey?
Thank you, Madam President.
Wait, she's gonna read.
Oh,
You're
sorry.
discussing an unconstructed paper street known as Bemis Street that runs perpendicular to the Hanson Street and abuts Upper Gallows Hill Park and the neighbors' concerns of the loss of green space if the lot is developed.
Councilor Ruffey?
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this matter be received and filed.
Councilor Ruffey moves that this matter be received and placed on file. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Ruffey?
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules to allow the mayor to address us briefly on this matter.
Seeing no objection, Mayor?
Thank you, Councilor Everly. I think the letter is fairly self-explanatory, but I'll be happy to just share with the councilors. We did hear from both Councilor Everly and Councilor Ryan a request for us to look at the potential acquisition of these there's 3 lots off of an unconstructed way on Bemis Street. If you were looking at this land, it would look very much like it was just part of Upper Gallows Hill. It's green space that directly abuts the back of the homes that are on Grafton Street, in between that area and the basketball courts. There are a few lots that were owned by the Sullivan family of Salem that have since merged by virtue of the fact that they're all owned. I don't think anybody ever thought they were buildable lots, but due to the fact that they merged under the law, they do qualify, and that Bemis Street is an unconstructed way. And there was interest in building a home up there at the request of both counselors and some of the neighbors. We have looked at it and are talking with Park and Rec about submitting a CPA, a request to the Community Preservation Committee to use CPA funds to purchase it so that it can continue to be the green space that it looks like now, and for all intents and purposes, it's used for now. The letter was meant to provide an informational update so that both counselors could be aware of it. It also came up with the Park and Rec Commission. Councilor Ryan was at that meeting and raised this as a potential purchase or acquisition to maintain that open space at the top of the hill. So I think November 14th is the next CPA meeting, and I know the Park and Rec Department is working on the application. We'll be submitting it at that time. So hopefully you'll look for it coming out of there by the end of this month. We've also been in touch with the owner to allow the family to know that we are pursuing this, so they're aware of it as well. Happy to take any questions, but if not. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
I move that we return to regular order.
Okay, which will be on page 3. Hearings, none. Appointments and reappointments.
Held from the last meeting, the mayor's appointment of Sarah Stanton to serve as a member of the licensing board with a term to expire on December 3rd, 2021.
Counsel McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. I think everybody in this room knows Ms. Stanton. She was our finance director for a number of years, and she did a wonderful job at that. And she's since moved on to Cambridge, to bigger and better, or bigger anyway. I don't know if we'll go better, but she's volunteered to step up and take on this, to fill a seat in this board by a dear friend of mine who passed away. And I think that with her, I mean, all you have to do, and we all know Sarah, but all you have to do is look at her resume, it's impeccable. She has great qualifications, and I think she'll serve this board very well, and I give her a lot of credit. I look at it as a way of, we talked when she took the job in Cambridge, so you're gonna keep your condo in Salem and stay here. So it's kind of a way that we're gonna keep her here a little longer. I think she's gonna be a wonderful asset to the board, and I wholeheartedly recommend her confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Fury. Councilor Giroux.
Madam President, I had the real pleasure of working with Rick Lee, who passed away, and I agree with Councilor McCarthy. We're going to miss him, a dear friend. He loved serving on the board, and I think he's looking down tonight saying, hey, great appointment, absolutely great. We're very lucky to have you, Sarah, back in this council chambers. And Salem, you love, you served it so well, and you're stepping up in a different life. In fact, if anything happens in the election myself, in the next election, I would like to do the same thing, sincerely. Public service is a high calling. I'd like to serve on a board myself someplace else. I go to heaven someplace else and after the election there. So I'm like you, we love Salem. Thank you, Sarah.
Councilor Giroux. Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also strongly support this appointment. I was honestly heartbroken when Sarah left us. It had been so fantastic working with Sarah as our finance director, and I think that we would be very fortunate to have her serve on the licensing board, and I'm glad she's not leaving Salem.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to support Ms. Stanton's appointment here. Having served as the finance chair for 2 years while Ms. Stanton was leading the department, I worked with her extensively. Her knowledge and intelligence is unparalleled. We have all sorts of ability here, and again, I was also really disappointed when she took the job in Cambridge, but I'm sure they're paying her buku money. And no, I'm really happy that she wants to keep serving this community that she's made her home, and I'm privileged to support her.
Councilor Famico.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm glad to have Sarah back as well. And I'm also happy to have someone who's younger and female on the licensing board, and who additionally lives close to the downtown, so understands that aspect, and who has traveled the world some, so can bring some worldly perspective into whatever businesses are coming before us. And she'll get to be in City Hall Annex, which will soon be across the street, and continuing to stay involved. Welcome back.
Anyone else? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Turiel?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes.
Counselor Gerard?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor Famiko?
Yes.
Counselor Epley?
Yes.
Counselor Dibble?
Yes.
Counselor Milo?
Yes. Thank you. On the matter of the appointment of Sarah Stanton to serve on the licensing board, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The matter carries. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd ask for suspension of rules to allow Ms. Stanton to address the council if she so chooses.
Seeing none, on down.
Guys, I feel like I should be talking about an appropriation. Are there any transfers? I won't. There's someone else that does it. Thank you. I guess you can go home again, so it's good. I'm looking forward to working on the licensing commission. I love Salem. I'm glad to be here. I'm not moving, although I think about it on my commute in the morning. But I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate the confidence and the kind words. It's nice to see all of you. So happy October, almost over. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councilor Lovely.
I just rise for personal privilege. I would ask for members to stand for a moment of silence for the departed Rick Lee.
Oh, thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President, also a point of personal privilege, may I ask that the city seal be sent to the heirs of Rick Lee as a small token of his service to the city?
Thank you. Communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $178,529 from the stabilization fund account to the following fire department accounts: full-time salaries, overtime, EMT, holiday, out of grade, nights, and specialty.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Gerard moves the suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for adoption.
Under discussion?
Thank you again. This was actually part of negotiating the fire department's contracts, and so this is a routine matter.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Gerard's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to accept a donation in the amount of $3,000 from the Salem Harbor Station to Park and Recreation Donation Fund.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption.
Under discussion?
Thank you again. This is actually a very kind donation from the power plant for $3,000 that they donated to make the Derby Street Mile an incredible success.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Gerard's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. All right. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we take the two items on page 7 in the opposite order, the one at the bottom first. I would hate to make a change and then have the second half of that change not come in place and cause an even bigger problem on Harrison Road. So please, let's take the second item first.
All right, so you want the second item on page 7? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, in the year 2017, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 75, parking prohibitions, towing zone, resident sticker parking. Harrison Road, Zone B, color red. Northerly side, resident sticker parking only, 6 p.m. to 8 a.m., Monday through Friday,
resident only Saturday and Sunday. Also, residents of 238 Loring Avenue to 258 Loring Avenue to be eligible for resident-only parking stickers for Zone B, color red. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter.
Move for adoption?
I move for adoption.
The first passage. Under discussion?
Yes, we've discussed these Salem State issues and how the parking is affecting the entire neighborhood. This is yet one more example, but it's a whole brand-new example of what's happening on Harrison Road. Whereas at about 8 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night, some 50 or more cars leave the South Campus parking lot and head to Loring Avenue, and when Loring Avenue is filled, they line all of Harrison Road, and now they're spilling out onto Jefferson Avenue, the last street in the entire neighborhood that is not resident-only parking. So this will help, this and the second order here tonight, ordinance request will help tonight to correct this problem. And I asked for immediate passage on this. I'm not sure why it was delayed, but I apologize to the residents of Harrison Road. I met with them in September, and for some reason it came to us wrong and then had to go back and be edited again. And I just want to point out, as Fawaz, a resident of Harrison Road, pointed out earlier, that every single resident of the subject area has signed the petition asking for these changes tonight, and I ask that we approve it tonight. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Council Dibble's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Council Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, in the year 2017, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 74, General Prohibition Towing Zones. Repeal Harrison Road, both sides, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Friday, and replace with the following. Harrison Road, northerly side, no parking tow zone, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. Harrison Road, southerly side, in its entirety, no parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter, and I move for adoption.
Under discussion?
Yes, this is the same issue, and it's a second half of the same ordinance that will simply correct a safety issue that we're having with both sides of a very narrow 26-foot wide street lined with cars right up to people's driveways, when it would really legally hold only about 8 or 9 cars, and there's 14, 15, sometimes more cars right up to people's driveways on both sides of this narrow road, so that you can really put a fire truck down the street. I parked my pickup truck there, and my window was almost, my mirror rather, was almost hit by a small school bus that came down the street. There's simply not enough room, and this will fix the problem. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Council, Council Terrio.
Sorry, Madam President, I have no objection to this. I just have one question so it's clear in my head. So the idea is to not allow any parking at all on Harrison Road except for resident sticker at nights and on weekends?
Council
Do I
Dibble?
understand it?
Not entirely true. Just to clarify, there should be no parking at all on either side on Harrison Road during the day. There's simply too much traffic coming in and out. On the south side, which is the college parking lot side, we're proposing no parking at all 24 hours a day. So traffic will be able to flow at all times. And at nighttime, on the resident side, which is the northerly side, to have resident-only parking during the night.
All right, great, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that in my head. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Dibble's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, in the year 2017, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking limited time. Chandler Road, in front of number 26 Chandler Road, for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter. And I move for adoption.
For first passage?
For first passage.
Under discussion?
Yes, this is simply a handicap parking request in a neighborhood that seems to have plenty of parking. But the residents, I believe there's 2 people that live at this one house that
need to be able to park closer to the house. One person parks in the driveway, and one person will park right by the front walkway, and they can easily make it into the house rather than having to park a little bit further away. So it's a standard handicap request. Unfortunately, these folks need it, and I ask that we grant it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Dibble's motion for adoption for first passage. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Fury?
Yes, please. Council Milo?
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem, in the year 2017, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Article 15, Senior Citizen Tax Work-Off Abatement Program, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows: Section 1, Chapter 2, Section 2-2052, Program Guidelines. Letter C, in each fiscal year, no more than 30 individuals shall be allowed to participate in this program. Section C shall be amended by deleting the number 30 individuals and replacing with the number of 40 individuals. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter.
Discussion, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. We visited this ordinance 2 years ago. And at the time, the number of participants was maxed out at 25 participants. And at the time, 2 years ago, there were less than 20 participants in the program. So at that time, we increased it from 25. We figured 30 would be enough, given the number of participants currently. Well, our folks at COA did such a great job of advertising it that now we're at the max again. And from speaking with people in the program office and down at the Council on Aging, if we don't increase this, what's going to happen is this is going to end up going to a lottery. And some folks who really depend on this abatement are going to be shut out. So the intention here is to take and increase the number to 40. This is, again, based on discussion, so that we don't have to keep bringing it back and bringing it back. So I think if we increase it to 40, we will hopefully not have to look at it for a few more years. The new finance director is aware of it. The assistant finance director is aware of it. The Council on Aging director thinks it's a wonderful idea. The program folks think it's a wonderful idea. I spoke with Deb Jackson, so everybody seems to be on board with this.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councilor Epley?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm in full support of this. Thank the at-large councilor for bringing this. I'm wondering why we can't just go ahead. I mean, we only increased it by 5 the last time, and now the good councilor is asking for an increase of 10. Why can't we just increase this now to 50 or 60 individuals? I'd be certainly in favor of making a motion to amend to just. So I'll bring, unless you'll accept a friendly amendment, a motion to amend to 60 individuals.
I'll accept that very friendly amendment.
Councilor Lane? Councilor Chourakis.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just a question on clarification of, so how much is this? I'm in support of this and even going to 60, but how much are we?
What's the dollar value?
Yeah, okay.
Mr. President?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So DOI, Department of Revenue, allows a maximum of $1,000 for the work-off. So
Per person?
basically what we're talking now, if it's going to be 60 individuals, it would be $60,000.
So per person.
And keep in mind that that comes off the tax bill.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we're shelling out 60,000 or however many thousand, generally speaking. And the other thing is that this is a work-off program, so folks have to actually give something back. They have to actually put their time in to earn that $1,000.
Councilor Lane, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So why even have a number? Why not just to see how it goes? I mean, we're going to keep increasing every couple of years. You might as well just, if it becomes a problem, then come back and revisit it.
Councilor Milo, please.
I think if we're going to start going to infinity, we probably have to consult the finance director again and Deb Jackson and the other folks. But I'll leave it up to the body. I mean, I'm happy to give these folks help if they need it, because again, and it's all based on income. So it's people who actually need it that get it.
Councilor Chourakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given that we're now doubling this cap from 30 to 60 at this point, I think that's probably a reasonable number for the time being, because I guess we're just maxing out the 30 now, if I understand.
Correct.
So giving this opportunity to double the number of people, rather than just leaving it open-ended, let's see if this in fact fills before we lift the cap even further. I think it's a wonderful idea. We're not talking about a lot of money off the top, and we are getting something of value, and it's probably a good experience for the people who get to contribute and do something and get some value for it. So I don't see anything wrong with it with no limit, but let's start by, rather than just opening it up. Besides, we've been dealing with this 30 for some time, and let's see, if they get overwhelmed with applicants, that might be kind of difficult to manage too. So I think raising it to 60 for now is a good number.
Any further discussion? Council Eppley made a friendly amendment to, and Council Mallow agreed to keep it up to 60?
Yeah.
And now we're voting on a motion to adopt the first passage to 60, correct? Mm-hmm. So, you want a roll call, or do you want to?
I'm fine with a show of hands unless somebody else.
Fine with a show. On a show of hands, on a move for adoption for first passage for the number 60 individuals. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Mallow.
Thank you all. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, year 2017, ordinance to amend ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking limited time, repeal Laurel Street in front of number 21 Laurel Street for a distance of 20 feet handicap parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter. And I move for adoption for first passage.
Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, this is a space that we established in 2013. The resident no longer lives at that location, so we don't need to keep it anymore.
Okay, any further discussion on Councilor Terrio's motion for adoption for first passage? All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Lovely.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, in the year 2017, ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council, City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking time limited. Hathorn Street, in front of 75 Hathorn Street. Should be 72 Hathorn Street, I believe.
Okay.
For a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by the City Charter. Move adoption.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Lovely's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Giroux.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, in the year 2017, an ordinance to repeal an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking time limited. Repeal Upham Street, easterly side, starting at a point 20 feet from Dearborn Street and continuing in a southerly direction for 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter, and I move for adoption for first passage.
Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. This resident that needed the handicap sign has moved away.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Giroux's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Giroux.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, October 26, 2017, ordered that the monthly financial report dated August 31st, 2017 be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance. And I move for adoption.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
On Councilor Giroux's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, October 26, 2017, ordered that the monthly financial report dated September 30th, 2017 be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, and I move for adoption.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
On Councilor Giroux's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Giroux.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, October 26, 2017, ordered that the year-to-date budget report dated July, August, September 2017 be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance. And I move for adoption.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no other discussion on Council Gerard's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Council Lovely.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem City Council, October 26, 2017, ordered that the list of streets approved by the City Council on September 14, 2017 for temporary resident parking status from October 1st through October 31st, 2017 to allow parking enforcement staff and police officers enforcing during the month of October to be amended to include Downing Street. Any businesses located on temporary resident-only streets shall be allowed 2 passes. Any additional streets determined by the Chief of Police.
Move for adoption?
Yes, I move for adoption.
Any discussion?
On discussion, it's a very short street, maybe it's 100 feet long. It runs between Margin Street, the extension of Margin Street, and Prescott Street. It's just left out of the equation, so.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none on Council Lovely's Councilor Sargent.
I'd just like to offer a friendly amendment, because there's a glitch in the temporary resident sticker parking. People with permanent resident sticker parking are allowed 2 guest passes, and I believe we're supposed to do that for temporary resident sticker parking, because they just as well deserve to be able to have a guest over. So right now, the temporary resident sticker parking neighborhoods can't have a guest over legally, and the next legal spot could be a half-mile away. So I talked to Matt Smith, and he said they may not have enough space, temporary passes or guest passes to mail every household to. So what I'm asking for is that anybody who chooses once, because there's a limited supply, that people who request one, come downtown and request one, get 1 per household, no more than 1 per household, just to get us through the season. Next season, maybe we can get them the right guest passes so they can have guests over, because somebody with temporary resident sticker parking deserves to have a guest over just as well as somebody with permanent resident sticker parking. So that's my friendly amendment, that anybody with any household with temporary resident sticker parking, should they so request, be granted 1 guest pass.
Is there a second?
I've got a parliamentary question, Madam President. And I appreciate what the at-large councilor is asking, but because that's such an omnibus request, that hasn't been noticed before. Under sunshine laws, I don't know that we can address the whole visitor parking, temporary visitor parking. I think procedurally, it could go under Councilor Lovely's current one for Downing Street, but I don't know that technically that you can do that procedurally, given the fact that there was no notice.
Yeah, Council Lovely.
I think that you could, but I don't even think we need to debate that. I think that the council could go on record. I think I've spoken with Matt Smith as well. They don't have enough passes to mail them out, and the cost is really, there's a week left, doesn't make any sense. But I think pursuant to the ordinance, people who have even the temporary have a right to a guest pass. So if they were to inquire and ask for a guest pass, I think they'd be provided. So I think we can have that debate and sort of get the sense of the council that we're on board with this. I think the parking director is on board with it. I don't think it's a friendly amendment, but I take Councilor Eppley's point that perhaps rather than getting into a debate about sunshine law and that it's just understood that while this is temporary, they still come under the same restrictions for resident sticker parking. They're entitled to a parking pass. But again, rather than pay for them or mail them, my conversation with Matt Smith was that they will give them out. They're in limited supply. There's only, I think this last weekend is probably going to be the only issue. I believe that the only time that the police are going to enforce or are enforcing because of the nature of they're so busy is when somebody calls, where somebody is clearly an out-of-state plate or somebody's been there all day. So I think the sense of the council, maybe a couple of the councils speak that so that people understand that if they need to have a guest over, especially on the weekend, that they're able to get a pass, and they should do so in advance.
Councilor Famico.
Thank you. I'd like to move that we amend this, and I believe it would fall under this, and someone could correct me. So we have the streets approved to allow enforcement. I'd like to amend this to add addresses located within the Salem Redevelopment Authority District be allowed a temporary resident permit. And if they want to pick it up, they can. As mentioned earlier, there's people that have the garage pass that they at this point are parking far away, and there's only a week left. A lot of them do live downtown. They could walk into City Hall tomorrow during the morning and just have that ability for the weekend.
So you want to add that to the list?
Not
Counselor?
for- I don't want them to allow the 2 passes, it's just only for people on their residence address, not the businesses.
Counselor Lovely?
I'm confused. So where do the people currently park downtown? Most of the spaces are metered, I would assume, but I'm not that familiar with what the resident parking conditions are, so.
Counselor Famiko?
Yeah, so some have passes to the garage. However, they're not the reserve spots. So it's you get a space if there's one available. Other than that, typically a lot of the areas within a 10-minute walk are also unmetered. For example, parts of Essex Street, parts of Summer Street around the Common, part of Derby, part of Essex Street there. All of the streets on the far end of the Common near the playground, that's all usually unmetered, unrestricted. Anyone can park there.
Counselor Lovely?
Currently, do they have the orange placards, those areas that you speak of?
Yes.
So, if I might,
Sure.
I guess the question would be which residents would be allowed, and what generally it's for parking in a neighborhood. I'm trying to get a handle on what you're trying to do, but so there's no parking there except for residents, and we're saying they could have a guest pass, but those folks who park there are not allowed to park in another area. So I think it's going to be difficult to do that without some further discussion beyond this meeting, I think. And I know there's a week left.
4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but they can park those places, and right now they're blocked out. When we added more and more of these streets, it's pushed people further and further away. I'd just like them to have the ability to be able to park on the side streets or around the Common if they choose to, and not have to park at the shuttle lot.
Counselor McCarthy? Counselor Epley?
Thank you, Madam President. Parking in Halloween is a logistical nightmare.
Thank you.
And we all the ward councils all try to deal with it as best we can. It's not perfect, by far means. I've had numerous conversations with Matt Smith. I give Matt Smith a lot of credit. He's our parking director. And with conversations on how we're going to revamp resident parking, because I have issues myself, because I feel when we have, for the month of October, we add a large section of Derby Street to the resident-only zone, which it's to keep the tourists out. It's not to keep residents out. It's not to keep friends of residents out. It's to keep the tourists out, because the tourists will park all day, as opposed to someone who comes by to visit. Somebody may spend a couple hours and leave or whatever. And it's difficult. And I always look at the orange zone as an extension of the resident zone for the neighborhood. So we've added an extra street or an extra area that's an extension of the resident zones that already exist. So in my opinion, which I get pushback every year, is if you have an orange or whatever color placard it is this year, I think it's green. If you have a green placard, you can park on a residential street. And conversely, if you have a residential parking pass, you can park on a street that's marked with the orange Halloween parking only, because it's an extension of the residential zone. It's for our residents. It's for the people who live here. And I understand the good Ward 2's council's concerns with the downtown residents, but what she's asking for right now, I commend her for asking for it, but logistically, tomorrow is Friday. We'd have to come up with a list of who this pertains to. You just couldn't have everybody walking into the parking garage on Saturday looking for a pass in order to pay. And I understand what she's trying to do, but as she stated earlier, she wants to be part of the follow-up meeting that takes place after October, before we start planning for next year. And this is an issue that probably should be addressed, because every year, myself included, look to add more streets to branch out the orange zone to make it wider around downtown, because the spill out goes wider and wider. And the people who are being affected are those people who don't have a pass in order to park in those zones. And with all due respect, I just think that logistically, you're asking a department to try to figure some up. Who's to say what, when, who's qualifies for what and how in order to park in zones? I don't know how that works, and maybe she has an idea how that would work, but it is something that needs to be addressed. I agree with that. A lot of, there's a lot that goes on with Halloween. It's very much concentrated in the downtown district and how that affects the downtown and the neighborhoods around the downtown, and how we address those issues thoughtfully to make sure that our residents and their guests have the ability to, park within a reasonable distance of their homes, and how we try to nudge the people who are coming here for the day into spaces where they're supposed to be. And I commend the mayor for the efforts with the shuttle and allowing, 1,300 people parked up at Salem High School, between Salem High School and the medical center, and bust into downtown. Do the math, divided up by X amount of people per car. That's a lot of cars that were up at the high school that weren't downtown. So that's a help. And I think those ideas help. But right now, I understand what the at-large council is saying about giving out guest passes, but tomorrow's Friday. Friday, City Hall closes at noon. The parking garage is open all the time. And how that information is going to get translated to them, and they're going to deal with it on a Saturday and Sunday during the biggest weekend, as we've just been told, and they're going to have to deal with something that has been dropped on their lap. I don't think that's, I'll leave it at that. I think that there's a lot that needs to be, this isn't something that we can just say it's going to happen tonight and it's going to magically happen tomorrow morning. I don't think it can. Maybe it can, I'm not sure. Maybe the Ward 2 council's got some ideas how this can happen, but I just don't think logistically it can.
Councilor Epley.
I fully endorse the Ward 1 councilor's comments on the substantively, but I'm going to be the procedural skunk at the garden party again, and I apologize, Madam President. As much as I might want to help the Ward 2 councilor or the at-large councilor, again, only the Ward 3 councilor brought forward a timely order, and we're talking about Downing Street and we're talking about Ward 3. That's substantively what we're dealing with. We can't really go beyond that. So I think it's out of order for us to really be discussing what the whether the orange tags are for this or for that, who qualifies, whatever. We're just talking about Downing Street. So if this is more of a matter of cleanup after the fact, with of addressing this at that time and doing a better job in 2018.
Madam President, I can withdraw, but just to make the note that what I'm asking for is something that's already legally supposed to be provided. Residents sticker box supposed to have passes, so just want to get it out there. I have asked a couple of weeks ago if they would get them and was told that they didn't. They didn't have them, they wouldn't. And now it seems like that's softening up. But at some point going forward, we got to straighten it out. But somebody came down tomorrow and said, I have temporary resident sticker park, and per ordinance, I deserve 2 guest passes, but I'd like 1. They should be given 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll withdraw my motion and keep it clean.
Councilor Famico.
Yes, Madam President. I understand this. It's a discussion going forward, and for going forward, when you're all discussing this, it could be fixed by residents whose address is included within the B5. That includes everyone that typically can't have it, and perhaps we can come up with something for some people that have a more difficulty going forward for this, but the B5 would solve the problem for next year.
Any further discussion on Councilor Lovely's motion?
Move the question.
Seeing none. On Councilor Lovely's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, October 26, 2017, ordered that the city solicitor communicate and negotiate with the present owners of a certain private parcel of real estate located adjacent to a paper road known as Bemis Street. The city solicitor shall research and prepare any legal documents for the purchase and/or public taking of this parcel for the common use as a part of a public park known as Gallows Hill Park, located at the top of Hanson Street. The city solicitor shall report back to the city council on her progress with same at the next regularly scheduled city council meeting. I move that this matter be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted. Under discussion?
Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. We heard earlier from the mayor that she had responded back to both Councilor Ryan's requests and mine as well. concerning this issue. This was an order that I filed toward the end of last week, just to make sure that this was on the agenda. The administration and the mayor is working diligently toward that, so I'm in full agreement with where the mayor is wanting to take this. This was just essentially a belt and suspenders kind of thing. This can go in committee. If for some reason a cooperative sale doesn't happen, this is in committee, and we can talk about the issue of a potential taking if necessary.
Any further discussion? Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. When I first became Ward 4 councilor back in 2008, this is when I first learned about this issue. At that time, the city was trying to sell the house, the caretaker's house up there, and then the mayor was going to make the land the city owned conservation land or parkland. But it was landlocked. I never thought anything could be built, so we just pretty much let it go. Until a couple of years ago, I believe she contacted the owner, or the owners that passed away. So the trustee had contacted Councilor Epley about doing something with the land. She was trying to get rid of it, wanted to sell it, wanted to develop it, and there was some information, and then it pretty much died. And then a week ago Sunday, I got a phone call from my uncle who lives up on Gallows Hill, and he said that somebody on Grafton Street and brought up the whole issue, and I'm like, I don't think they can do anything, so I didn't bring Councilor Epley into it right away. So I did some research. I keep all my emails and stuff. I had a file on this. And then the next morning I contacted the building inspector to double check, can they actually build on this lot? And he said, yeah, they can. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I was already going the next day, Tuesday, was the Park and Rec Commission. So I went to that meeting to make sure that they're aware, because the Park and Rec Commission has a lot of power as far as parkland, but that's not parkland. But I wanted to make them aware, so I brought it up to their attention and said, you understand that this is happening, to make them aware, which got the head of the Park and Recs to go over to City Hall. And I also was in contact with the city solicitor about what we can do as far as whether we can just take the land. I mean, I'd rather just buy it off them. I also went to the Ward 4 neighborhood meeting and let them know about it. And then I had called the city solicitor, and Councilor Epley had already spoken to her, so then that's why I know that he must have got, I don't know if you got from Mr. Manning, but he had, John Manning is the gentleman who had contacted, is friends with my uncle. He had sent a letter basically saying, I'm sending you the enclosed communications. I already knew about this, I had already going on. Proposing to construct the street named Bemis Street from Hanson Street to the basketball court. This is through a park and conservation land to build a house in the middle of the park, Ellis Hill. Should not happen for the children who enjoy the park. Thank you for your support. And they wrote, I remember you playing basketball with your sons at the basketball court. Also, your mother was my playground instructor at Ellis Hill Park. P.S. Save the park. So by that time, it was already in motion trying to get something done, and everyone was on the same page. And I spoke to the city solicitor before the meeting, and she had spoken to the current owner, and they're willing to sell it. They're just going to have to do the appraisal, and there's money in CPA funds. The only other issue I have is the other parcels of land that the city owns. Those need to be made parkland, so none of that can be sold, because one of these pieces that we're buying back, the city owned before and sold in '86. I don't understand why they sold it, but just want to everyone's support. We're going to put it, if it goes in Oler, and I think the city solicitor will be back by the next time. I think hopefully we can get this taken care of. But the next thing is to make sure the other land becomes parkland that the city already owns.
Councilor Epley.
I just want to add just a couple of things, and I want to thank Councilor Ryan for his efforts on this as well. That how I found out about this was from the constituent writing me and giving me a copy of a letter to a butters that was sent out by the building inspector. Dated October 11th, and everyone's busy, and I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but I think that one thing that I've definitely taken from that is that certainly every ward councilor should be a recipient of every abutters letter. That should be just as a matter of course. Whenever an abutters letter goes out, the ward councilor should be copied on that, so that whoever that person is not left in the lurch and, basically a week and a half behind. Because I got my letter from this constituent Wednesday of last week for an October 11th letter from the city. So anyway, it's being resolved. I think the at-large counselor and with the CPA funds as well, I think that's a great solution.
Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to echo the good at-large councilor's comments, Councilor Ryan. I also am not sure why this property was sold, and I was probably involved in the sale of it. That's pretty interesting. But looks like there's a total of 9 properties, 6 of which are city-owned, and then 3 of which are now merged into one lot. So we can call it 7 lots, or we can call it 9 lots. But the good at-large council recommended that these, at a later date, become parkland. And I think that we need to look at it at the same time so that this council in 10 or 20 years from now, we're not going to revisit it. So a friendly amendment to have the city solicitor look at taking all 9 properties, the 3 that we're about to purchase, which is actually 1 lot now, I guess, all 9, and make them part of the Gallows Hill property, have it merge in with the parkland so it's permanently preserved as parkland and not separate little lots that might fall through the cracks.
Councilor Ryan.
If we use CPA money, those lots automatically become parkland. It's just the other ones that we need. And I discussed it with the park department and Park and Rec, so I think we'll be hopefully have that done. But the CPA money will automatically make it parkland.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Epley's motion that this matter be referred to Ola, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, October 26, 2017, ordered that the proper city departments return the section of Brown Street that has been painted as a one-way street in front of the Witch Museum back to a two-way street in accordance with current city ordinance. Move adoption.
Under discussion?
Under discussion. This is a section of street that, the first time this happened was during the construction of the sidewalk, which in essence was a trial period, where it was made one way each side during the construction process. After the sidewalk was done, it was left that way, and I had some calls about it and some experience with it where Brown Street, as myself driving on it, was backed up very far. So, in essence, the cars that are backed up on Brown Street, some are waiting to take a right turn, and in essence waiting at the light in front of the hotel. And as soon as they switched it back, after some questions with the police traffic and talking to Dave Knowlton, they took down the signs and it was turned back to 2 ways on each side. And the backup went away because cars could slide to the left and head up towards Winter Street rather than having to wait on Brown Street, go all the way down, and then take a left from the other side of the statue. And that couple of 100 feet makes a big difference in the queuing up. Once you get to the left side of that statue, you can get through traffic that the people that are waiting for the light will leave an opening for you. When you go to the right side of the statue, it's all right to be taking a right towards the hotel, but if you're waiting to take a left, there's gridlock there. Very, very hard situation to take a left from there because it's hard to get out, and it's backing traffic up. So that was resolved for the time, and I just found out from a call and seeing in the news yesterday that it was done again, from a couple of calls and a few concerned citizens that why did it go back to that way again? And I did some research on what was happening, and it was done by the Parking and Traffic, board or advisory board, as I call them, and it was at the September 12th meeting, but there was nothing on the agenda about it. So a decision was made, and in essence, we violated the Sunshine Ordinance and the open meeting law, and then with their recommendations having to be with the approval of the mayor and the city council, it didn't come before us, so in essence, we violated that. So those are two-way streets on either side, and any street is a two-way street unless we by ordinance make it into a one-way street. So they, I'm asking for support in essence doing nothing and leaving it the way it's supposed to be, 2 ways, 2 lanes each way. Nothing has been officially done to change it. It's just been painted over. And there's some talk of it being temporary, but we've already had a trial period back in the summertime. And if this were to be a trial period, with all due respect, October in Salem, at one of your busiest places in Salem, is not the best time to do a trial period on traffic. So that's what I like to do, is have council support to put it back to the way it's supposed to be. Not to change it, because it's a two-way street each way, just so. And I'll yield for discussion purposes. Thank you.
Councilor Famiko.
Thank you, Madam President. With this right now, ultimately, I think it will be better in the long run. As someone that's walked there, walking versus driving, I'll put it that way. If you're a pedestrian and you live in Bridge Street Neck, or if you live on the common streets, say Mall, Williams, Oliver, the space between one side of the street and the other in that area is pretty great. And also, with the way that the road is configured, it doesn't have a steep turn, so if you're driving, some people are going quite fast there. I will say with the sidewalk, it's larger primarily because I fought for that. If you look at the Witch Museum specifically, and cars used to be parked right up to that crosswalk, and the width of the sidewalk and the amount of people, it just really wasn't conducive. And also, it just really wasn't safe. With this area here, during the trial, I'll call it that, during the sidewalk construction, it wasn't how it currently is. It was actually one lane going one way and one in the other, closer to the Peabody Essex Museum, because the side closer to the Witch Museum oftentimes had the detour sign, as there were the barricades in the road and everything else. So a lot of times that was actually closed off completely. The paint, I'll agree with the speaker in the beginning. It's ugly. It shouldn't be what it's like there, and I hope that long term, if this does go into place, that we'll come up with something that really blends into the neighborhood. If you've noticed they're driving, you oftentimes get people, they don't probably even know who Roger Conan is. They step back into the street like this to take a photo. That's part of that little extra area there. We're taking into account those people taking photos anyhow to make it safer for the drivers, safer for the walkers and whatnot. October might not have been the best time to start this at all. I'll give you that. I drove around the other day taking a look at it, and probably wasn't, but at the same time, maybe it was better for certain times because people try to avoid the downtown altogether at that time. And on the weekends, that whole side's blocked off. I would like to bring in a late file later on in regards to this that I think is a happy compromise. But for right now, I will say that we need to think of ways that if you're a walker, or if you have a small child, or if you have difficulty getting around, what's the best way to get from one side of the street to the other without having to play Frogger? And to be safe with that, this also, that whole area, if the crosswalks right now even are the zebra stripes, because before they were the same color as the bus spots, if anyone noticed that. And didn't stand up as well, and it just, some of them you're going around the corner, you'd even notice it before because it was that green, it doesn't reflect as well. So as I mentioned to my fellow councilors, I'll be bringing something in a couple minutes. But for right now, I will say that we, in general, do need to take more consideration into people that are walking by foot and not clogging up our roads. And a lot of people in that area, they do get around by walking into the downtown or walking other places. But I think it can be tweaked some so that you don't get the backups for those that live right there, and that later on we can come up with something that's attractive and also just really works for the neighborhood and those that are traveling by all modes of transit. Thank you, Madam President.
Council Lovely, Council Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I understand Council Sargent's concern, and I spoke with the mayor this afternoon. She saw that it was on the agenda, and she called me, and she admitted that it should have been a trial period, that Council Famiko should have been given the opportunity to come forward and suggest a trial period for the changes taking place there. Mistakes are made. She's got a lot on her plate right now, as many of us do. I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I think Council Famico is going to bring in a late file that will make this a trial period, which is the proper way to do it. And I think it's up to the neighborhood. Mr. Coleman spoke this evening about it not really, at least to this point, being effective. Another individual spoke. I think it's up to the ward council to decide what their constituents want, obviously with the input of the Traffic and Parking Commission, which is made up of a group of people as well as our traffic lieutenant. So I think we should move on. We're not going to change it between now and Halloween. I believe the good council won't be speaking, but she'll be talking about her late file order so that we do it in the right fashion. The mayor agrees that it should have been done that way and that ultimately it seems like it's going to have to come back before the council before a permanent change can be made. So I would ask that perhaps if Councilor Sarge is willing to withdraw his motion, or I'll make a motion to table it, whatever he prefers. Thank you.
Councilor Turiel had some discussion for.
Thank you, Madam President. Briefly, before we move procedurally here, I think I understand the reasonings why this change at the island was put into effect. I do see the safety benefit of it potentially. I also do see the possibility of making traffic worse at sometimes, especially with that left turn in there, and the way that could be blocking, especially during the really heavy times of traffic. My thinking is that long term, especially since the sidewalk has been built out, and I think that's been good for safety, but for pedestrians around there, I think long term, probably the best solution is to do what it takes to eventually move that statue somewhat closer to the museum and build a plaza around it to make a real entrance to the street that's actually wide enough for cars to go in both directions once and for all. But for now, I'll yield for us to dispose of this for now.
Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. Before I possibly withdraw my motion as a gentleman, this is difficult for me because I lived on Howard Street all the way through grammar school, and I walked those roads every day to and from school, and I know those streets well. I still have family live in the neighborhood, friends that live in the neighborhood. I'm by the Common all the time. I travel that street. And in a situation like this, usually we're reacting to accidents and to pedestrian near misses. And I don't see any reports of those kind of things going on there. In Riley Plaza, I just had a call from a man, and understandably angry, that was crossing the street last night at a place where his father had been hit and almost killed and died a year later from his injuries. And his wife was almost run down, taking a right turn on red as you come down Norman Street and take a right to go towards Marblehead on 114. People are taking at it, they're looking left, they're turning right on their cell phones, and he was very angry. So those kind of things we react to. I don't have any kind of reports of things like that happening here. It's not a street where people are speeding on like Riley Plaza, or is more prone to be speeding, not that somebody doesn't once in a while. And you get to that Brown Street, and of course the left side of the street is Washington Square North, so that's why it's not Brown Street's still a two-way street going one side of the statue one way, one the other way. The right side of the street is Brown Street, the left side of the street is Washington Square North. That's why they were both two ways. So if you're queuing up and you're like the fourth car, when the second car, the fourth car, a third of those cars or so would have gone left and be out of the way. So now that's what backs you up so much. You're the 2 cars away from where the statue is, 3 cars away. And you see an opening where you can just slide down there at 10 miles an hour, cut through the traffic and be up towards the Knights of Columbus and Winter Street, and you can't get there. You can't get there because you can't move without going on the wrong side of the road, and that's the dangerous thing. So leaving it this way in the long run could be more dangerous than what it is now, because people do that. And you're actually stuck in the middle of Brown Street, and you find out the reason you're stuck is because the light is red at the hotel. That's quite the backup. And I watched that happen in the summertime. I sat in it and experienced it. So in October it's even more difficult. And I want to compare it to Endicott Street, where for 10 years we were trying to get Endicott Street a one-way, get something done. My own son almost could hit there one day when he was like a young child, just after they redid Riley Plaza. His cars were flying down there. And it took all those years, then a trial period, and we finally got it done, but we got it done right. The neighborhood was very happy with that. Somebody didn't just go changing the street to a one-way and we woke up and found it and had to answer a lot of calls. We did it through the process, and it worked well. And this isn't the only situation. I hate to bring things up, but a lot of the stop signs in Blubber Hollow when they redid Grove Street, the bump outs on Canal Street, you know, have been put out, and there's been no city council or no public meetings or anything on those kind of things, and they're traffic changes. They're changes to the roads in Salem. And even this spot here where the sidewalk was widened, that was widened out into where the cars parked onto city property without any knowledge, without the city giving that land over to anybody. It was just done. And it's done. I think it looks better, but imagine if people begin widening their sidewalk on their own with their own money, albeit, and I give the owner credit, and he spent a lot of money on it. But if people around the city decide to widen their sidewalk out to the width of a parked car, imagine the situation we'd be in. So all I'm asking for is that things go through the right process. The Parking and Traffic Board review them, and review them as good as they can, and that they come before us by city ordinance for as approved by the mayor and the city council. So the public have their right to a proper, vetting of an issue, and they get to vote for somebody, yes, if they like what they do, and no, if they don't like what they do at election time. So with that, I'll withdraw my motion. But one last thing I'd like to say, usually we're doing a 90-day trial to see if something works, like we did on Endicott Street. In this situation here, we're doing a 90-day trial to see if it doesn't work. So we're doing this a little bit backwards, but albeit, I'll withdraw and we'll move forward. Thank you.
All right, given that, Council Famico, you have a late file that's kind of related. You want to bring it in now while we're
Yes, Madam
kind
President.
of on the subject?
City of Salem and City Council, October 26, 2017, ordered that the current configuration on Brown Street at Washington Square be continued/left in place for a 90-day trial.
And what's your motion? Just to put it as a trial? Okay, all right, so that's a late file, no discussion. Looks like there's discussion down there. No discussion. All those in favor?
Are we sending this to a committee?
Oh,
Go to a committee.
Yeah. Sending it to a committee?
Has to go to committee.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
I thought how did you read that? That it's going to be a trial, correct?
Yes, Madam President.
Still, it has to go to committee.
Counselor,
Madam President, that is what the Ward 2 counselor read, but because it's a late file, this must be referred to a committee. We cannot act on it tonight.
right.
So public health, safety, and the environment.
So the committee is?
I'd like it in public health, safety, and environment. I have to have a couple other things in there.
What was that? Public health, safety? Co-posted?
Co-posted, absolutely, Madam President.
Thank you. On Council Famico's late file motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Council Fury?
Yes, please. Council Milo?
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem and City Council, October 26, 2017, ordered that Council Rule 38, discharging matters from committee, being both relative to the matter of a home rule petition regulating certain insurance benefits for elected officials of Salem in the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, which requires a 2/3 votes of the council by roll call vote.
On discussion?
Do we need a second?
Is there a second? Councilor Lovely, second on the discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just by way of a little history on this, this particular petition came in to the council and was referred to committee in April. There was a committee meeting held on April 27th. It was decided that the matter was going to be kept in committee. Fast forward to today, 6 months later, October, what are we on, the 26th? And where is it? Still bottled up in committee. Mr. President, we were presented a $155 million budget on May 25th of this year. It took us exactly 2 weeks to the day to have the hearings on the budget and to pass a $155 million budget. But we can't even get a minor financial matter like this to the floor for a vote. This petition that sits in committee is an example of good government, it's an example of responsible government, and it's an example of fair government. At the time, I made the suggestion that we could amend the resolution to grandfather folks in, because I didn't want anybody to have to come into the council under one set of circumstances and stay on the council under another set of circumstances. But the bottom line is, this is an effort to save taxpayer money, no matter how small it is. It's, you know, saving money is saving money. And I think we saw earlier this evening where the kind of savings can be used very well, a very good and noble use of the savings. When we passed the increase on the senior tax abatement ordinance, and the good Ward 4 Council was generous enough to increase the number from 30 to 60. And I commend him for that. In my opinion, the older folks here in Salem are similar to, at least I feel about them, the way I kind of feel about the veterans, that you almost can't do enough for them. So we talked about the financial impact. All I can say is, I'd like to see this come to the floor for a vote. You know, whether it's up or down, we'll deal with that. But let's be bold enough and brave enough to take a vote and take a stand. And let's get it out, bring it to the light of the day. I understand that if we do vote to bring this out of committee, because of sunshine rules, we can't actually make a vote on the actual resolution. I understand that. But at least if we can get it out, we can have that discussion at the next meeting, and we can, you know, however uncomfortable the discussion might be, but we can actually do what the residents of Salem have elected us to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Council Mallows, request has been seconded by Council Lovely. Under discussion, Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Pardon me.
Procedurally, I mean, in my 10 years on the council, this rule has never been invoked, nor has anyone actually said that any standing committee of the city council has neglected their job and not done what they're supposed to do. People have talked about trying to do it, and this is the first time it's actually been tried. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think it's been done one other time. That being said, what's being asked is the fact that the committee did not act on this issue, irregardless of what the issue is. It doesn't matter what the issue is. The fact that we're discussing the issue shouldn't be discussed. Procedurally, it is, you want to remove something from committee. Until it's removed from committee, it's not in front of us. What the idea is in front of us, the fact that it's in committee, but we're actually, the fact that we're just talking at all about what it is, I'm not going to talk about what it is. I'm going to talk about procedure. The procedure is the fact that it's being alluded that the finance committee has not done their job. I totally disagree. I sit on the finance committee. I know everyone else who does. Other than this week, this was the first time that anyone has talked about this. And if the at-large counselor so wished us to move the matter, all she had to do is pick up the phone and call somebody on the committee and say, I think this matter needs to be taken up. Of which, fine. But what is neglected in this is the fact that, first of all, we had discussions previously, as was stated. This matter was brought to us in April. We met on it right away. And at that time, it was determined that we needed to wait. We needed to wait for more information. We needed to wait till after the budget was done. We needed more information to who was going to sign up for insurance, all of which came out in committee. Fast forward, now we've been asked to take the matter up. Did anyone take into consideration the fact that we have a new finance director, and the finance director probably wasn't even aware of this issue? And now we're going to try to take it up in a week's time and just move it. So the question, irregardless of what it is, The question becomes, do you feel, anyone in this room feel, that the finance chair and the finance committee did not do their diligence in trying to address this matter? And if that's what it is, so be it. But as I stated to the council president earlier, I firmly believe that this rule was put in place years and years ago before the Sunshine Ordinance, that if the will of this body is to move the matter, it should be non-debatable tonight. Even though it's on the agenda, the fact that it was still in committee and not out of committee until this body acts, then officially it's really not on the agenda until we act on it. And once it's out, it hasn't been noticed. So therefore, we shouldn't be debating the issue nor discussing it. It should be put on the agenda for the next meeting. At that point, it'd be taken for a vote. That's my opinion on it. I'll let other people debate it, but this rule trying to be invoked is basically, saying that the finance committee is neglecting trying to do their job, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. We have moved multiple matters out. No one asked us to move this thing until, from what I'm hearing, last week. And that being said, I think that, take the vote, but don't have the discussion about what's in the matter is, because that's not in front of us yet. What's in front of us is bring the matter up. Once the matter's out, you want to debate it, fine. But it's still in committee, and there's nothing in front of us other than the rule to move a certain matter out. And that's the basics of it. So I think we should be dealing with the basics. The heart of the issue is, do you feel that the Finance Committee didn't deal with an issue and it needs to be brought to the floor today? And if that's what your feeling is, then vote for it that way. But if your feeling is that it's in committee and the committee will at some point in the near future, now that it's come to light that someone wants this to move, then that's when it will be dealt with. But what you're looking to do is you're asking 5 members of this council to say that they didn't do their job or were neglecting doing their job or drag their feet or whatever the terminology you want to put on it. I don't agree with that. Just have the conversation, get it moving. The fact that they're having a discussion about this, I don't like it. But the fact it's in front of us, we have to deal with it. But what's in front of us is the fact of moving the matter, not the matter itself.
I too serve on finance. Councilor Lovely?
At this point, Mr. President, I'd like to keep my place in line, but yield to the mover,
Thank you.
Council President.
Councilor Maddow?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a patient person. I don't bring things here lightly. As you know, I probably you can count on one hand the number of times I've come off that podium this year. When I come down, it's very important, and I've tried all different ways to achieve the goal before I come down off that podium. As much as I love the Ward 1 councilor, I take issue with the assumption that I did not communicate with the chair of the committee. There was definitely communication going on, and it happened way before last week. It happened in June. It happened in August. It happened in September. It happened right before the first meeting in October. And it happened again, what are we on, Thursday? It happened on Tuesday. A good portion of the morning on Tuesday, we were texting back and forth. And I believe like as late as 11:45, I was relieved to learn that this matter was going to be that there was going to be an A&F committee meeting scheduled and that this matter was going to be put on it. It was only when I learned that the matter had then, the meeting had then been canceled that this came in. I don't do this lightly, and I don't do it I do it because I feel it's part of my job. This is something, and I know that we're not supposed to discuss the resolution, we're just supposed to discuss the merits of whether or not we can pull it out. I'm not making accusations about somebody doing their job or not doing their job. But what I am saying tonight is that it's time to pull this out of committee and it's time to vote on it. We're talking about us. If we can't make decisions about us, how can we make decisions about the city? Thank you, sir.
Councilor Gerard, chairperson of the... I apologize. Councilor Lovely, please.
Mr.
Thank you.
President. I seconded the motion out of respect for the council president. I understand what she's trying to do. I'm not privy to conversations with the chairman of finance. I found the chairman of finance to be very diligent in what she does. I have great respect for the committee system. It's set up in a way so that we can all... We're appointed to committees, and we refer things to committees where we feel that we may get the best shot of getting our matters out. I cannot support taking it out of committee, although I probably would support the matter should it be out and not discussing the merits thereof. But I feel that the committee system works well, and that I will be opposing taking it out of committee.
Councilor Gerard, Chairperson of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. So prior to being the chair of Administration and Finance, I was also the chair of the Public Health, Safety, and the Environment Committee. And in both of these roles, I've taken that chairmanship very seriously, and it's very important for my committees to have all the information in front of them, however long it takes to get the information so that we are making informed decisions. And that is what is at the forefront of everything that we do, and especially in Administration and Finance, because the budget isn't something light. And so it is incredibly important to me that we have all the information. When I've been approached about this, I have said, exactly what my committee member said, Good Ward 1 counselor. So we had 3 big things happen. We had the budget happen in May, then we had open enrollment in July, and then our finance director left in August. Those 3 things compounding this pushed it back. I want to get it out. If you look at what I have on my committee of what the items are, I'm trying to move them out as quick as I can, and I don't have a lot. There's very few things that I have. And so I have been trying to get this off the ground, to get this done. And the fact that our finance director, I want her to be up to speed. I want to make sure that we have all the information so that when we make this decision, that it's an informed decision, that we can bring it out to the floor. And that is the only thing that I am asking for. And that is exactly why I want to just keep this in committee, and why I specifically said, let's talk about this after this meeting. Let's make sure, because our next meeting is going to be November 16th. So then that's going to give us another 3 weeks to get all the information together and give the finance director enough time just to get up to speed on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Lyon, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not in favor of pulling this out of committee, but the only point of procedure is if a councilor has a financial interest, can they even be voting on what's coming out? I mean, that's just the solicitor would have to ask that question, but I'm not in favor of pulling it out, but I just want to make sure.
Thank you. Councilor Gerard and Councilor Milo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I asked the city solicitor about this question before, and particularly because, number one, Rule 38 doesn't specifically relate to a financial matter, but, and then because this is prior to the election and we don't know what's going to happen with the election, that this is fine. So everyone can vote on this.
Thank you. Councilor Milo.
I checked too. I have the same answer.
Move the question.
Moving the question to take this matter out of committee, that's the issue, right?
Correct.
That's what we're voting for.
By roll
I think
call
it's
vote.
best interest for us to do a roll call vote. Do I see 3 hands for?
It's already on.
Yeah, it's already on here for a roll call.
Does it require a roll call
It's already
vote?
on here, yep.
Councilor Milo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can count. And that's one of the things that the Ward 1 counselor taught me when I first got on the council. And based on my numbers here tonight, I'm going to withdraw this.
Thank you for your wisdom. The motion is withdrawn. Councilor Milo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Favor?
Opposed? All in favor?
Excuse me?
You in favor?
All in favor of the vote to withdraw.
Oh, I apologize. All those in favor of Councilor Milo's request to withdraw? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Committee reports.
But last motion, is there one more motion? I was
Did we-
waiting to the end.
Is there anything left?
Okay. I have a late file.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor
City of
Whitlam.
Salem and City Council, October 26, 2017. Ordered that the Committee on Ordinance and Legal Affairs hold a meeting to review the plastic bag ordinance prior to the next regular City Council meeting. Said meeting shall be co-hosted with the Committee of the Whole. Thank you.
On Councilor Lovely's motion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed to.
The matter carries. Any other late files? Councilor Dibble?
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, in City Council,
October 26, 2017, that the Committee on Community and Economic Development co-post it with the Committee of the Whole, meet with the Traffic and Parking Director and Assistant Director, if we have one at that time, and the Traffic and Parking Commission members, including Nicholas Downing, Jamie Mitch, Eric Papetti, and Tanya Stepasuik, and discuss parking and traffic situations in Ward 7.
Did you say where it was referred to? I'm sorry, I missed that
I
part.
apologize. Yes, I did. Committee on Community and Economic Development, co-posted.
Oh, okay, all right. On Counselor Dibble's motion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Any other late files? Seeing none. Committee reports? None. Communications from city officials? None. We're on petitions, the second item on page 15.
We have a list of, we have a license application for public guides.
Counselor Ryan?
Move granted.
Under discussion?
Discussion, it looks like there's only one, Anton James the Great Andreessen, who is the official musician of Salem, so.
Gotta go with him.
He lives in Florida.
Any further discussion? Manufactures $100 bills like nothing. Okay, on Counselor Ryan's motion that this be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions?
We have license applications for secondhand valuable and tag day.
Counselor Ryan?
Move referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
On Counselor Ryan's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions?
We have a list of claims and one subrogated claim.
Counselor Ryan?
Move referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs.
On discussion?
No discussion.
On Counselor Ryan's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Unfinished business?
We have second passage of an ordinance amending Chapter 2 relative to the Department of Park and Recreation and Community Service, Section 2-593F, delete in its entirety.
Counselor Ryan?
Move adoption for second and final passage.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
On Counselor Ryan's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business?
We have second passage of an ordinance amending Traffic, Chapter 42, Section 57A, parking time limited, unmetered zone, Loring Avenue.
I defer to the Ward 7 counselor.
Counselor Dibble?
Thank you, Madam President. Motion adoption for second and final passage.
Under discussion?
This is the same issue as we talked about earlier, and this is probably 2 or 3 decades in the making. And finally, I think the residents of the middle section of Loring Avenue will be very thankful for this improvement to their quality of life. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Counselor Dibble's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Unfinished business?
We have a letter from Counselor Dibble for reconsideration dated October 13, 2017, of the vote to invite the Traffic and Parking Board Chairperson Tanya Stepasuik to meet with the Committee on Community and Economic Development prior to a vote of her reappointment.
Counselor Dibble?
Thank you, Madam President. I like your comment earlier today that you also learned how to count. It took you 2 terms, but you got there. I'm learning on my first count. I clearly see that I don't have the votes for this, so I'm learning from the Ward 1 counselor beside me. I clearly see that I don't have the support from my peers on the council, and I respectfully withdraw the motion.
Thank you, sir. So based on that, unfinished business? Further unfinished business?
Vote on the motion.
Oh, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Okay, further unfinished business.
The reappointment of Tanya Stepasuik to serve as a member of the Traffic and Parking Commission with a term to expire on October 12, 2020.
Counselor Girai.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Under discussion?
Thank you. I'll just say briefly that we are very fortunate to have Ms. Stepasuik, that she wants to continue serving as the chair, and we are glad that she is continuing.
Thank you. Any further discussion? On Councilor Durad's motion, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Terrio?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes.
Counselor Durad?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor Famiko?
Yes.
Counselor Epley?
Yes.
Counselor Dibble?
Present.
Counselor Milo?
Yes. Thank you. On the matter of the reappointment of Tanya
Stepachuik.
Thank you.
Bless you.
To the Traffic and Parking Commission, we have 11 councilors voting, 10 in the affirmative, 1 voting present. The matter carries. Councilor Fury.
Madam President, motion to adjourn, Madam President, motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.